Hi friends, it's Linda. I am back. It's been a little while, but I have been hard at work on my new journal series. And it is a 4-journal autumn fairy series based on the Cicely Mary Barker flower fairies. I had made 4 for the summer, and those were in my shop and sold, and this is my series for fall, and I am really excited. I think they turned out really nice, and the colors were wonderful to work with. So I am going to do a flip through of all of them, but just the first one in detail, and then I'll just show you what's different in the others. They're pretty much identical on the inside for the most part, few little variances, and each of the covers is made the same but has a different fairy from the alphabet fairy fabric panel on the front. So I'm gonna start with this Wallflower fairy, and I'm gonna move the others out so we can see the detail on this. Hopefully I got them out of the, okay. Alrighty, so they are made from a very heavy coated, heavier than cardstock. It's really an interesting materials. A friend of mine gave me some very large sheets, and each sheet was enough to make a journal. It's kind of like a cardstock. It's kind of waxy, very thick, and that I cut to the right size, folded, and covered with this beautiful Liberty of London olive green fabric. And it has a alphabet fairy fabric panel piece on the front, some vintage buttons, and this beautiful little embellishment up here that is some vintage lace, crocheted leaf. And I will credit, I got this leaf from an Etsy shop, and I will credit the maker, the crocheter of these leaves, and her shop in the description box. And then some beaded dangle and some charms. It is closed with a Tim Holtz hitch with a elastic band. And it can easily, if you would prefer to use a different closure, this can easily be removed from this eyelet, and you can put ribbon or something else on there. But anyway, it's very easy to use. And there's lots of room to grow, because right now they're just a little bit loose. So you can make this quite a gator mouth, and this closure should still work for you. So on the inside, you can see when I created the cover, I made a fabric pocket for the front and back. And I also covered the inside with this beautiful, it's a pearly, ivory, crinkly, very heavy paper. I don't know what it's called. It might have a name, but I'm not sure what it is. And then in the inside pocket is a paper envelope that I made from some Japanese gift wrap, and a library card. And there's a little fall leaf and a handmade with love charm there. On this side is some scrapbook paper and some beautiful vintage eyelet trim. I just love this trim. This is a 3-way pocket. And in this front pocket here is a trio of tags, and I will credit this digital from which these came in the description box. And then in the center pocket, I put a vintage flash card. And then there are a couple more small journal cards in this first pocket here. The journal cards are from the digital kit. Some pretty mulberry paper, a fun little fairy die cut, and the die cuts that I used came from the same Etsy shop as the person who did the crocheted leaves. Some children's ledger, coffee dyed paper, and it's like a patch or an applique. And here is a burlap pocket with this cute little card, journaling card that I made, and it's some really colorful pumpkins, and I added some little fairies who were hanging out there on the pumpkins. This was a fun page to create. I made this after watching one of Gail Augustinelli's videos, and she had just seen Carrie the Crafter do the same technique with rubber stamps and some masking with Post-it notes. So that was a lot of fun to create. I just pulled out my stamps and did it right along with them, and it was perfect for these journals. This is a bag that I covered with some tissue paper, and inside is another fun fall tag. And then I put two completely blank tags up in tucked in behind the bag in the little pocket up there, so that you can make your own creations or just use them for journaling. Trying so hard not to over decorate and to allow there to be lots of things for the owner of the journal to complete. This is a really pretty digital that I believe was made from some slow stitching that someone had done, and it's just beautiful, and I love the fall colors, so I included a couple pages of that. And this is a fabric flip that I made. This fabric is actually kind of dear to me because it was from my mother-in-law's estate, and there was quite a bit of it, so I decided I wanted to use some of it this fall. And I think of her and my brother-in-law, who also used to do a lot of crafting, and this came from a box of their craft supplies. So, and this is a Cantha quilt piece that I got in a packet on Etsy, and I will link that shop as well. And then some old lace and a fairy charm. This is some avocado lined paper, coffee dyed, and then in each book there's a couple of pages, a couple of entire pages, which means each fairy book should probably have at least 4 pages from the complete book of the Flower Fairies by Cicely Mary Barker. I tried to choose the ones that were, this is Flower Fairies of the Wayside, and the ones that had fall-like images. Some vintage music paper, another piece from the digital that I use. This is a fun shaker page, or shaker element. I made it into a journal card, and it's made from a CD envelope, and I did some sewing and a little bit of stamping, and I was going to secure it down as a pocket, and then I decided when you do that, all the sequins tend to stay in one place. So I thought I would just attach it with a clip so that you could play with it and use it wherever in the journal or outside of the journal that you might like. And this was actually some fun. One of the packages that I received from Etsy was tied up with this ribbon, and I just kept it out and put it in my journals because it was perfect. That always happens to me when I'm making journals. Little serendipitous finds that just fit right in always seem to just come my way, and this was one of them for these journals. This is a paper bag, and I put a pretty little fall-themed note card in there that can be sent to a friend or used as a whole lot of journaling space. Okay, and then I just have this closed with a paper clip and some really pretty sari silk in a yummy goldy mustardy yellow color. Some vintage ledger, coffee dyed paper. This is another page from the Book of the Flower Fairies, And this is the center of the signature, and this is the acorn fairy from Flower Fairies of the Autumn. And in the center of each signature, first of all, I sewed it with a matching olive green thread and finished it off with a fairy charm and some pretty matching beads. Okay. And this is a fun die used as a tuck, and I made this, oh, sorry, I can't get the whole thing in the picture. This tag with the pumpkins, and it looks like there's some little pixies walking around the pumpkin patch. I imagine that fairies and pixies would be drawn to pumpkin patches in the fall. Okay. And the other side of the paper bag. And if you've watched many of my journal flip-throughs, you're going to already know what's inside of here. Yes, indeed. It is a decorated and beaded tea bag with some tea inside, and this is pumpkin spice chai tea. Doesn't that sound great? Doesn't it make you want to just have a cup and get ready for fall? I'm ready already. I've had enough of the heat. I'm not a fan, and I love fall, so I'm always ready for fall. Okay. So it was really fun working on these journals when it was 100 degrees outside. It made me feel cooler. Okay. And this is, I love this. So simple. I just found these digitals. I think it was a freebie from Louise Heinzel, I think. And I just put a little fairy on there and used it to decorate this little page. And then this is a belly band made from some really fun trim with some great colors. And then I made this journal card and this embossed journal card. I don't know if you can tell, it's leaves. And there's lots of room to tuck more in there if you're so inclined. This is more of that beautiful digital that looks like slow stitching. And the back side of that rubber stamped page that I made. And then this little half page is a collage that I made along with a Liberty of London matching fabric ruffle, and then this adorable little fairy. And this is that pearly paper that lines the inside of the journals. And this fairy and this fairy, they are both from rubber stamps made by Red Lead Paperworks online. They also have an Etsy store, Red Lead Paperworks, but I don't think they have rubber stamps on there. I think they just have collage images, and the rubber stamps are on their actual website. They have the best rubber stamps. Okay. And then we're getting to the back of the journal here. This pocket has this lovely image of a leaf with a heart. And then I love to put recipes that kind of go along with the theme of the journal. And this is for fall apple fairy pizzas. And this fairy is sprinkling a little bit of her fairy dust on them. So it's just a yummy, simple fall-like recipe that you can make for with apples and peanut butter and chocolate chips and sprinkles and such. Okay, so that's tucked there. There's lots of room for more in that pocket. And then this is the very back page, and I made a little slide with a little dried fall flower in it, and then there's a fabric, oh my goodness, that doesn't belong there, little jump ring, and a postcard. Each of the books will have a fall, kind of fall color postcard from the Flower Fairy Alphabet by Cicely Mary Barker. Okay, so that is the Wallflower fairy. Okay, I'm going to move on. I want to show you it's herb Twopence is the name of, I guess, this flower and this little fairy here. And this one has a gold crocheted leaf on the front and vintage buttons. Sorry. And is otherwise mostly the same. As you can see, this is, you may not have noticed, but like the color of the leaf is different. This is a different scrapbook paper than what was in the front of the other one. So some of the papers may be of a different pattern, but all of the same elements. There's a fairy die cut. So as you can see, and there may be different rubber stamps that I've used, but for the most part, they are identical. This is a different piece of scrap of Cantha quilt here. And of course, the pages from the original pages from the fairy book are going to be different because I took them right from the book. This is the Song of the Acorn Fairy. Vintage music paper. They all have this pretty shaker. And this is the note card with the leaves on it. And this is the center, of course. They're all going to have a different fairy in the center of the book. And this is the Song of the Beech Nut Fairies for the center. Sorry. One of these days I'll remember to stay in frame. Okay, and then of course the tea bag is inside of here. Another page from the fairy book. This is a different leaf. Gilboca or Gilboba, or I forget what kind of leaf this is, but each of the leaves is a little different that you'll see in the different books. But they all have a fairy on it. And here are the belly band little journal cards. And the same with the collage. Now each collage will look a little different. And the fairy recipe and the pretty leaf with the heart. And of course, in each journal, the postcard will have a different fairy on it. This one is the Wallflower fairy, which is actually the fairy that was on the cover of the first journal that I showed you. Okay, so that is herb Twopence. And they're all already in my Etsy shop, and they are listed each in their own listing, and they will have the name of the fabric panel will be their title. It's pretty easy to figure out once you get there. Okay, this cover is probably my favorite. This one is called Yellow Deadnettle, which I thought deadnettle was a weed. I have some deadnettle in my backyard, and we took a picture of it and plugged it into one of those apps, and it said it was deadnettle, but I can tell you that it wasn't pretty like this, and it didn't have flowers on it, but so I don't know. But this is Yellow Deadnettle. I love this little guy right here. Okay, so this one has a gold leaf on the front. Oh, this is another little subtle difference. This one has a feather instead of, I think the other one had a leaf, trio of leaves there. So there might be a little difference in the charms. But otherwise, the insides, whoops, let's get in there, are the same. This one is air. The air smells fresh on this flashcard. Here is the fairy die cut for this book. Oh no, I feel like I'm out of frame. Okay. I'm gonna flip pretty quickly here because it's so similar. Okay, this is a different Cantha quilt pattern on this fabric flip. And this is different little fairy there from the fairy book. Flower Fairies of the Trees, these are. And this music paper, the name of the song here is Fairy Bell. So that's kind of fun. This has the note card with the leaves in it. Vintage ledger. These, this is Flower Fairies of the Autumn. The Hawthorn Fairy is what's in the center here. And I'm going to show you just a little close-up of the beads once again, and that's cute little fairy. I don't know if you could, it's a little hard to tell if you're really getting a good view or not when I lift the book up, but I'll pretend that you are. If you're not, you can tell me and I won't do that, but okay. So as you can see, they're very similar, just a few little differences. This has the tea bag, the chai pumpkin spice tea in it. The bag. All right, let's see. The Song of the Poplar Fairy. The Song of the Pear Blossom Fairy. And this is another one of the leaves. This one is kind of orange and brown. The prettiest leaves. The belly band with the tags, or the journal cards. And this little fairy journal card here. Hope I'm not going too quickly or moving too much. Just trying to not have it be such a long video since there's 4 journals. I don't want to bore you to tears. Okay. And the final page, and this one has, the postcard is the Elderberry Fairy. Isn't that cute? And this one is from, oh, okay, Flower Fairies of the Autumn. Yeah. And the little specimen with the flower. And this one I made the hitch post tie a little bit darker because I thought it was a nice little tie-in to this dark colored little fairy there. Okay, so 3 down and 1 to go. The last one is the Gorse Fairy, or Gorse, I guess is the flower. And this has a little fairy couple. And this one also has a feather and a green leaf. And the buttons and the charms. Okay, the front pocket with the charm and the lace. Okay, and then on this flashcard is the word fall. Isn't that appropriate? Don't fall off the chair. A little bit of a different interpretation, but still a good word for fall journals. Okay, and we got a little fairy there. And our little fairies in the pumpkins. And this little fairy tag here and the blank tags. This is that slow stitch digital. Here's yet another one of the Cantha quilt piece patterns, and they even have a different pattern on the back. They're just so fun to work with. And as I said, that came from an Etsy shop that I will credit in the description. Here's a flower fairy of the trees. I love her. So cute. And flower fairy. Here is a vintage music. Here is the shaker envelope. This has the note card in it, the sari silk on the paper clip, an old ledger. This ledger is a little different. This one's yellow. I think some of the other ones had a different color ledger. The Song of the Michaelmas Daisy Fairy. Oops, my husband's phone. Flower Fairies of the Autumn. The Song of the Hazelnut Fairy is in the center, along with some coordinating beads. Hopefully you can see those. Okay, the tea bag is in here. Here's a green leaf in this book, a little fairy sitting there, blowing some fairy dust. The belly band with the 2 cards, journaling cards, and the one is embossed. Pretty digital. The collage with the little fairy card and the Liberty of London fabric ruffle. Lots and lots of journaling room in these. I tried not to overdo and over-decorate the fall apple fairy pizza recipe and the little journal card. And then this one in the back has the postcard. She's so cute. Is the Beech Nut Fairy from Flower Fairies of the Autumn. And the little specimen card. Okay. So all 4 of these journals are now in my Etsy shop. Joyful Makes and Finds. And they are ready to ship. So thank you for watching along, and I hope to see you soon. I'm going to try to do some more videos where we can make some things together, and let me know, leave any comments that would be helpful for me, or things you would like to see me make or do, or journal themes, or just whatever. Leave a comment. I love to get comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Sending you all so much love. Bye-bye.